Hey everybody, welcome. It's Wednesday. That means we're live for another masterclass session. Today we're going to be showing power users how to create their own custom fantasy points of interest by piecing together art from the fantasy world style. I got about 20 examples here on the screen that you can kind of look over and just see what it's possible that you can create. Hey, first time chatter, Tiny Tank 7. Hey everyone. Welcome. Glad that you're all here. So we're going to make these custom kind of assets by kind of piecing together art from the fantasy world style. And this is the reason why it's kind of important that we bring this up now is because with 2.0, with a 2.0 launch, you'll be able to save these as like a custom asset, save it into the art catalog, and then add them to any map you want, as well as just copying and pasting them from one map to another. Like if you don't want to wait for the time that it takes to upload a custom stamp, you can simply just select it from a map, press Control C, go to another map, press Control V, and then copy and paste them on there. So it's good timing that we kind of talk about how to put these together, because with 2.0 coming out, you'll be able to do all kinds of cool stuff. Hey, Jadira. First time chatter, glad that you're here. So go ahead and take a look at these real quick, and then we'll go ahead and start putting our own together. So I'm really excited about this. I love fantasy POIs. If this becomes a popular stream, we'll make it an entire series, because there is just about an infinite number of kind of points of interest that you can kind of create. So let's go ahead and just jump into this map right here. And I've go ahead and just made a grid of cells, and then we're going to create a point of interest within each one. Now, I've already made one point of interest, this Necrothedral here, as an example. It was on the map that I showed previously, so you can kind of get an idea. We can zoom in. I put together the stamps to make this one. And then I've come up with the first prompt, Dwarven Airship, and then I'll have you all in the chat kind of decide what kind of points of interest to make from there. First, I want to talk about like the method in which I do to come up with these kind of points of interest, and really this has to do with the lore of your world. For instance, if you're trying to make a dwarven city, or maybe you want to make the gate to the underworld, or whatever it might be, you then kind of have an idea of what kind of POI you're going to make. From there, then what I do is I like to do 2-word prompts. So, for example, what I'll normally do is that I'll use 2-word prompts. I'll use like something like a dwarven, and then I'll use another thing like it could be a race, it could be like a castle or whatever, and then the next word is like airship. So evil castle or ethereal tower or whatever it might be. Now that's just what the prompt that I use to make it, so it doesn't necessarily determine where I'm going to be placing it or whatever, but I usually use these 2-word prompts. So if you have an idea, just make sure that it's 2 words long, so that way we can fit it inside of the square. So I'll start with the airship first. And I do want to mention that there are 2 types of art styles within the fantasy world style. You'll notice that there is this more isometric style right here. And then I think if I type in farm, you'll notice that there's also these more flat facing ones, what's called orthographic, meaning there's no perspective, they're just flat. So orthographic versus your isometric. And really, for me, when you decide which ones to use, whether you use the isometric or the more orthographic, that depends on whether you're going to be using nothing but the isometric art on the map, or if you're using the more flat. So if you are making points of interest for your map, make sure to try to stick with some kind of continuity between sticking with either ISO or orthographic. I don't recommend mix matching the two, because the art styles are different. You can, but it's a bit of a challenge. So make sure you pick one or the other. Don't try to mix mash the two. You can, but again, it might look a little odd. So that can kind of helpful when putting that together. So when it comes to the dwarven, like an airship, this is going to look kind of weird. And so what I do is I'll use the more orthographic stamps, because the isometric stamps might be a little harder to make one. And so what I'll do is I'll just pick one stamp from the dwarven style in that flat facing. And then what I'll do is I'll flip it and then place it down right underneath of it. And what we're going to make is like a floating city type of airship. It doesn't work with air balloons, or it doesn't work with propellers. It's going to be propelled by magic. That's what's going to be keeping this floating city up. To show that this is below, I'll also bring the brightness down. because the light is coming from above. And so the top of this floating city or airship will have the most amount of light, while the bottom part of the city or airship will be in the dark. So we'll make that a little bit darker. And then I want to add a little bit more to it. I don't want it to be perfectly symmetrical. Right now, it just looks like two stamps that are mirrored. So what I should do is I can probably keep adding more to it. So I'll change it to where the top looks a little different. Like I can add this little piece here. Let's also change that brightness because I want it to be the proper brightness. And then let's add another dwarven piece up at the top to maybe there's like a tower or something, or a control tower of some kind. So we'll type in dwarven. And I think we'll use this one at the top here. This will work great. And now I have this kind of floating city going on like this. There's this strange line work in the center there. Let's remove that. Let's add in like a scale of some kind. Maybe I can put like a scale like on top of it. Like maybe this will represent like a disc that the city or the airship is on top of. Maybe I should change it to a bluish color instead. I'll desaturate it so it kind of matches with the color properly. So I think overall that looks good. And then maybe I also want to show some kind of, like there's some kind of magic thrusters of some kind. So I could like take these right here and place them maybe on the ends like this. Let's flip this one. And then I'll put some crystals at the top just to kind of represent that these are indeed, it's magic that's keeping it up. So then I can go into heraldry, and there should be these crystals in the heraldry, and I'll just place one like this, each on top. And if we take a step back like this, we kind of have this floating kind of city or floating dwarven airship. So now you have this nice ship here. Other things that you can do are to add like light sources, like go to fantasy battle maps and take a light source, and then you can put some lights inside of the windows. You can also use a line for that. So I could go over here to the line tool. Let's use the pen, and I just go like this. Now that's going to be pretty big at first. I'll go it all the way up. If I go over, change this to a color. There we go. Let's change it to let's maybe change it to a purple color. There we go. So now I have this purple color right here. That works well. And I also might want to consider maybe blurring it, and then maybe bringing the size down, bringing the blur down. And then I can just copy and paste that and then place these light sources in whichever window that I want to have them. So maybe one over here, maybe in these towers right here. You could do the same thing with a light source. Let's definitely put one right here at the very top. That kind of makes sense. Up there, I think that looks good. And now I have my light sources there, and I have this kind of airship that's going. So I'll create the group, and I'm just going to call it Dwarven Airship. Now let's go ahead and take a look what other people kind of have inside the chat. Please share some ideas in the chat. I'm not seeing a whole lot. I also have a question that I missed here. I only use Inkarnate for Masterclass. I only use Inkarnate. I don't use anything else. I don't upload any custom art. I use all stock art. I don't really see the point of using art outside of it. That doesn't mean that you can't, but me personally, I just find it more of a challenge to use the art within the tool instead of importing my own. And Inkarnate is my art tool of choice, so that's just kind of what I use. Feel free to mention in the chat some other ideas. I saw a Circus of Madness, not a bad idea. We can definitely do that. Feel free to mention even more ideas, okay? Throw them in the chat. Okay, that looks good. I also think I'll scale it down and be a little bit smaller. And then I'll quickly just save it, and we'll move on to the next one. Oh, I like the Fey Temple idea. I like the circus, so we'll do a little bit of all of those. Let's go ahead and do the Fey Temple. I like that idea. That's pretty cool. I'll use flat again for this one, but you can use the isometric, and the next one I'll use the isometric ones. But I'm enjoying the flat. I'll go with this kind of for like a temple. It already has like a temple feel to it. But what I do is I'll probably change the color to make it more Feyish colors. So I could maybe change it to like a purple or like a pink color. I think that works fine. We'll change that. That looks good. I think that looks good. I think that works good. Just pick one. And then what I can also use is maybe I want to have it have some magical elements to it. I do believe in heraldry there are these kind of cool like wings that we could maybe use for fun. These stuff right here. I'll change the hue on it a little bit to give it more of that pinkish kind of color. I'll bring the saturation up a little bit more, bring the brightness up so it matches. I think about that looks right. And then we could maybe throw in like some wings at the top like this. Maybe we could throw in maybe a crown that kind of hovers over the top of it like this. Put another one on top like this. And then maybe we can throw in some embellishments of some kind. Let's see. I think this one or this one might work well. Let's try them out here. Let's see here. Let's put this one up in the front so it's above it like this. Let's put it right there like that, and then we'll flip it. Go like this. There we go. So we have some more interesting kind of frilly things going on there. Yeah, a Vatican Cathedral. We'll add other things too to it to give it more of that Fey look to it. For instance, I want to add some trees because when I think of Fey, I think of natural. And right now I've got a lot of unnatural elements to it. So what we should do is add some things to it to make it look more like it's the Fey. So some bushes, some natural elements. So like maybe a mountain. Normally I would make add the mountain stuff first that it would be on top of, but you don't always have to do that. That's up to you. So I could take a mountain here like this, and then I'll put it way down below, put it like this. Let's stretch it out so it fits more, and then we could change the color to something else. I'm using a lot of pink, so let's maybe go with maybe a more greenish color that can go with it like this. And then, because that way I want to add a lot of different colors to it. So now that we've added that, now what you notice is that there's some weird line work underneath of it. And so to hide that, I'll throw down some trees. So we could go in here, type in tree, and I can kind of pick whatever tree I want. I like this purple kind of willow right here, but instead of going purple, let's maybe have it be a bluish color. Oopsie, let's make sure that it's up the right layer. There we go. And I'll just go ahead and place some of these here. Let's start with some big ones here, here, here. Let's make them a little bit smaller. The variation helps. If you don't like the blue, then we'll change the color. So we'll add in some. Remember the trick to making really more realistic terrain, and that is to, of course, change the variation in sizes. So you don't want all your trees to be the exact same. Have some smaller ones, have some bigger ones. If you're not satisfied with the color, we can go through, select all of that, and then go through until we find a color that looks well. We can add more green. I think the green actually looks kind of good there. Let's also stretch them out, make them a little bit taller, I think would be good. Let's push them up one more layer. So that way this piece right here is behind it. There we go. So now we have some green and pinkish colors coming together. Maybe we want to add some kind of energy source or something above it. So maybe we should connect these two like this, and then maybe we can kind of put something in the center there. It could be like an eye or maybe some kind of symbol. Maybe I could use the sun. I could use maybe this twirling kind of blue thing up at the top here. I could put this in the back like this, or maybe I just want to remove those and just put this at the top, or maybe I want to put it in the front like this, down here at the bottom. All these different things that you can kind of do. Maybe we could just put a swirling kind of blue thing at the top there to maybe that represents the Fey deity of some kind, whatever it might be, right? Ezekiel, we're working on fantasy points of interest. So remember I mentioned light sources? We can totally just type in light. Now there's not going to be any light sources in this style, but if you go over to fantasy battle maps, allow the art to load for a moment, and then a light will pop up. Okay, let's go with, let's use this warm light here. We'll put it right in the front, and then we'll just change that color. I should be able to change it all the way to blue. And then just kind of place that light source just right on top of that. And then you might have like a deity of some kind at the top there. You could also put some clouds that are maybe ringing around it. You could do whatever you want there. Lots of different options there. So I think overall this kind of looks good. Create group. And what was this one called again? A Fey Temple, was it? Let's see, what was it? I think it was a Fey Shrine. I can't remember. Oh, an underwater city. Yes, we can make an underwater city. Fey Shrine. Okay. Oh, Fey Temple. That's okay. Fey Temple. Thank you, by the way. Fey Temple. There we go. And let's maybe just scale it down a little bit smaller so it fits in here. There we go. We'll quickly save and move on to the next one. Yeah, Underdark sounds good. So does an underwater city. I'll show you how to make that. We'll go ahead and save real quick. So the secret to underwater city is, one, you need to have, we need to choose a texture for the water. So I'll go ahead and use this to make this water right here blue. And we'll go ahead and call this underwater city. And I'm going to change the color of the text to white so that we can see it a little better, because it's kind of hard to see. Underwater city. Is it set to overlay? Let's change it to normal. There we go. Underwater city. Okay. So for this trick to work, you need to make sure that you have the ocean the right color that you want it. So you have that color, and we're going to use the luminosity blend mode to make stamps look like they're underwater. Okay. So we'll pick a stamp that we kind of want to represent the city. We could use this one right here. This will work just fine. I'll scale it up so you can see it. I should have mentioned this in the beginning, but always scale up the stamps so they're easier to work with. When they're really small, you have to like zoom in, and then you have to like, it's kind of harder. It looks a little bit grainier. So whenever you're working with compositions, make the stamp bigger so that you can see what it looks like and you can work with it. So place it on the blue space where that water is, and then you're going to change that blend mode to luminosity. Now, luminosity only picks up the color that's beneath it. It does not change its brightness or darkness. So you'll have to bring the brightness down a little bit to match, because at 100% brightness, it's a little too bright. So you bring the brightness down like this. Do that. And you can also bring the contrast down a little bit too. There we go. I'll bring the brightness up just a little bit more, about there. And then now you have this illusion of looking underwater. Now, you're not done there, of course. Of course, to make it look like it's underwater, you're probably going to want to put something on top of it. It could be waves. It could be a ship. It could be all kinds of things. You also want to maybe throw down some kind of terrain, like maybe throwing a mountain or some kind of coral reef that's on top of it. So we could also use that mountain stamp again. We'll pick a mountain stamp. We'll put it underneath here. Let's go with this one. Put it down a layer. This one needs to go. Let's put this down a layer. Oops. Okay, there we go. Let's turn the clip mask off. You see there's a clip mask. We'll make sure to turn that off. And then we'll change that blend mode to luminosity. Same thing. Go ahead and bring that brightness down. There you go. And then we'll change the scale of this to where it kind of matches. There we go. So now you have that. And then I think what I should do is probably bring the contrast down a little bit, bring the brightness down a little bit more, and there you go. So now you have some terrain and that. So from there, what I would do is I would want to put some waves like on top of it. So you can use, I think there's wave stamps on top of the line tool. Let me type in wave to see. See, there's no waves in the fantasy world style, so you might have to switch over to a different style. Let's go to fantasy regional. I'm pretty sure there's some waves in there. We'll click that. You can also paint them. You can use the line tool. You could use the top layer. There's so many options, but we'll go with stamps just to go for speed. You'll notice that there are some effects. There's some of these waves right here. These work just fine. Just make sure that you place them above like this. Now, I don't normally have these stamps at 100%. I'll generally have them be a little bit smaller, but I'll go ahead and select them all. You can bring the opacity down like this. You can change the blend mode to like lighten, or I think overlay works as well. You can change it to overlay. You can change it to the lighten and then bring the opacity down. So you have some waves underneath. On top of that, you can also throw in, and make sure these waves are at the right layer, by the way. We'll select all from the set, go down a couple layers, and then you can put a boat on top of it. We'll go back to fantasy world, type in ship. Let's go with, since it's an isometric, because it's isometric, we should use an isometric ships and boats. So you can take a ship and just kind of place it. Let me bring the opacity back up and just place it right here on a wave here. You can put another boat, this ship right here going this way if you want. So all these different kind of options that you can kind of go with. just to let you know that it's underneath, right? So the trick to depth, the trick here is depth, and to pull off depth, it's about layering, right? Start with your mountain, put the city on top of that, then go ahead and put some waves on top of that, and then put some ships or whatever on top of that. So that's the trick to depth, is all about layering, as well as using contrast. But you don't really need to use a lot of contrast here. But this is the simplest way to make a city. Just what I would do is just make the city first. Don't even worry about using the luminosity blend mode. Once you've constructed the city POI, select all of those stamps, change to luminosity blend mode. If you're using mountain stamps or cliffs, just know that you have to turn the clip mask off, because the clip mask is going to pick up whatever texture is on the FG layer. So when you select the stamp, scroll down and click that little toggle clip mask off. Okay, so very helpful. Let's go ahead and create group. We'll call it underwater city. So pretty easy to make an underwater city, right? Just construct the city, change the blend mode, and then start stacking your stamps. Super easy stuff. So I'll save it and move on to the next one. Yes, add a ship trail, or what's called wake, right? Ships leave a little bit of a wake. And so to show that, you can use wave or wake stamps from Fantasy Battle Maps. There is some wake stamps that you can use. So very, very helpful. Let's see what else is in the list here. I'm going to see. We have a floating island or civilization. I love that idea. Let's do that. And we'll use the fantasy world style. So we'll go with floating island, I believe it was. Floating city, floating island. Yeah, let's go with floating city. Or floating city. Oopsie, if I know how to spell floating, right? There we go. Floating city. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll probably use a floating island. I believe there's these floating islands right here. You have various types with different colors. There's a snow one, a more brown, and there's just this more gray type color. We'll use a larger we'll use the larger one, like this one right here, but you'll notice that there's a lot of different ones. Like there's a curved one here. There are some smaller ones. Let's go over and place all of them so you can kind of see all the various options that we have. So you can see there's quite a bit of them in here. So the way that I kind of put it together is I would use the larger one so that you can fit more stamps on top of it. I do like this one too. It has a nice shape to it. You can also put multiple islands so that way you don't have just one giant floating island, and you can create little bridges that connect them. My suggestion is that if you do a floating city with multiple islands, have a large one, have a medium size island, and then have like a small size. And then you have this more interesting variation, right? On top of that, also kind of use these gray floating rocks like this. And what you can have is now you have looks like debris from maybe the floating islands that it broke off. So just throw that in there. So now you have all these nice terrain for the floating city. Super easy to put together. We'll go ahead and remove these. And then what you need to do now is choose the pieces that are going to represent the city part. So what we'll do is we'll go in and type in city. You'll see there's a lot of options here. I'll go to expand all assets. And what we want to do is we want to pick a theme, right? Let's make it human, but it could be whatever you want it to be. But I'll pick like a human one. Let's just look at the options that we have here. A lot of different cities here. Let's go with, let's see here. You know what? Why don't we use the Nordic stamps? I think that could be more interesting. Or we could go with, I'm going to see what other options we have here. There's also, oh, you know what? Let's go with maybe the Eastern kind of city. That could be interesting. Let's use this one right here, this Eastern city. We're going to first pick a centerpiece. Whenever I'm making a city POI, what I want to do is I want to pick a theme. I pick the floating Eastern theme, so I'll go over to Eastern. And then you should pick a centerpiece. The centerpiece is going to be like the largest building on the island, right? And we'll use the castle as the centerpiece. And what I'll do is instead of putting it in the center and then having the city being around it, I'll choose a nice little corner in the hub there, right there. I'll put a nice little hub right there. And then I can start putting together some other larger pieces like this larger type of city piece right here. And here's another larger city piece. It fits right in that corner right there. Instead of placing individual houses, I'm placing these larger pieces so it's less work for me. Let's also go with maybe some of these city pieces here. Let's put one there. There's also a smaller one that should fit right about there. And then there are these individual buildings right here, which we can use to fill in the rest of the space. And then what I can do as well is I can maybe put some kind of a larger tower or something right here on the side. You could put it here. I think right in this corner looks good. And then I'll use the individual buildings to fill up the space. Like that. These look a little big. Let's bring the size down on these. I'm going to select all from this set. And we're just going to go down one layer or one size. There we go. So now I have this kind of decent city. Now remember, it's a point of interest. It doesn't have to be a massive city. So you don't have to worry about putting all the different, making it massive. Just kind of putting them together. Oh, Bandits Hideout. Love that idea. Love that Zeal's theme, Chrono Trigger. I'm not sure what that is. I don't remember. Oh, I do love that game. Oh, yeah, that's a great song. I remember it now. Okay, so we have that put together. Some other things we might want to add in is maybe some kind of like a Torii gate of some kind. Let's put that on this island over here, maybe. Let's make that, let's flip it and put it the other way, like this. I think that looks good. Put a Torii gate there. And then let's also put, just for fun, we'll put a Torii gate maybe on top of this castle right here, just to kind of give it a more of a fantasy element to it. So if I add that one, I'll copy and paste, and then I'll add another one on top of that, like this. So this multi-tiered kind of Torii gate, that will give it a more fantasy, element to it. There we go. So we have this multiple towering Torii gates there. Makes it more interesting. This is a little off. Let's move it a little bit more this way. There we go. Yep, we could add a light source on the gate to give it a more magical feeling to it. I love that idea. We could go in. Let's see here. Here's the light sources right here. Perfect. Let's choose a different color here. Let's see here. We could put... Let's change the color to see what would work better. Oh, you know, I kind of like that orange color. That looks good. Let's put some here as well on this top one right there. There we go. And so we have some kind of light sources at the top of the Torii gate. Some other cool things that we could do. Let me take a look at what other options are here. I think this is good. One thing we could also do is throw in some clouds as well. If it's a floating city, then you would expect some clouds. So let's pick some clouds. These clouds seem to mesh too well. They seem to be of a similar color. So I'll desaturate these and make them like a whitish color, more like a cloud. And then what I'll do is I'll stack these up. I should put some clouds in the front, like this, kind of overlapping in the front. And then I should take some clouds and put them in the back. And I'll make them a little bit darker so that way they kind of represent that they're in the background. So I'll go ahead and place these kind of in the background like this. And now you have this kind of nestled floating city like this. We'll create the back. We'll call it floating city. There you go. So pretty easy kind of stuff when you're putting it together. Let's just scale it down a little bit more. I think about that size looks okay. Just remember, you're not going to make the entire city, right? I mean, this isn't watercolor cities where you're making the entire city. Though you could do that. You could make like a city map using these stamps, but that would take a little while. So when you're making a POI city, just remember, you only have to show maybe some major points of major locations in the city, and then maybe some smaller little houses that you populate around it. You don't have to go all out. Like even this right here seems like a little too much, but it does look a little interesting, right? Okay, let's go ahead and save that, and we'll move on to the next one. I see there's a bunch in here. We have a Thieves, Forest, or Hideout. Yeah, we can do that. I'll show you how to put that together. The way that I would do a Thieves Fort would mean we're going to have to add some forest element to it. So what I would do, let's go ahead and add in a Thieves Forest. We'll type that, Thieves Forest. There we go, Thieves Forest. Cool, there we go. So what I would do is I would make the forest part first, because if it's in a forest, the Thieves Fort is only going to fit within maybe a small clearing, right? And the way that I would do this is I would go to Stamps, open up the catalog, type in tree. Pick the tree that you kind of want to use. It could be like an evergreen forest. It could be a coniferous forest, whatever kind of forest. It could be a dead forest. It could be a deciduous forest. It could be a temperate rainforest with multiple species of trees, whichever forest that you choose. I'm gonna go with this green kind of, let's go with maybe an evergreen forest of some kind. And then what I would do from here is, instead of using individual stamps, like what I'm dragging with my mouse there, instead I'm gonna go up to right here where it says area, and I'm gonna click up, and you'll notice that I can now place more trees at once. You noticing that? I can place multiple trees at once. I can also change the density. I can bring the density up to make them more dense, or I can change the density to make it smaller to where I can just show a scattering of trees. So it's up to you which really way you want to go about doing it. You see? So these density and area brushes are really, really helpful. So what I'll do is I'll keep the density at 100, but I'll bring the area size way up. And what I'll do is I'll just kind of create this kind of blob of trees like this. I'll go ahead and change the area to 0, and now I can change it to individual trees on the outside like this. And then I'll take that area brush, and I forgot which key I can press here, but I have to press a certain key. Let's see here. It's I think it's Alt or the Start key. If you hold that button while you have the area brush selected, you can actually delete an area. So if you can see here, I'm deleting an area using the area brush. You just hold down Start or Alt, depends on the keyboard that you're using. And I've created this little area now inside of the forest in which where my thieves fort will be, right? So I should go in here, and I can use multiple things here. I could go in and use a fortress of some kind. Oh, I don't think a fortress. Let's try just a regular fort. Do I have a regular fort? There's some stuff in here. There's this human fortified city. I don't think that is going to work well. Why don't we maybe go with using the Nordic? Maybe that would work well, using this kind of Nordic one. I think that should fit in here well. It kind of fits in there well. Let's maybe bring the scale down just a little bit more. And then we have this nice little kind of fort that's inside of here. I'll bring the scale down a little bit. There you go. I've got that fort inside of there. And now you have a nice little fort. You can also create like maybe a little path that kind of leads to it. So I could go in and just kind of delete some individual kind of trees and then create a path that kind of leads into the forest. Or if you want it to be the forest there's protection, there isn't a path that leads to it. You have to go through this thicket of trees. All right, so pretty much not too hard to make a thieves fort inside of a forest. Just make the forest using the area and the density brushes, and then go ahead and just use the delete function, which is Start or Alt key, and then just click and remove a little space, because this is called what's called a glade. It's an opening in the forest where there's some light, and so this is where we're going to be placing our fort. So I think that works well. Let's go ahead and select it all. We'll create group and call it Thieves Forest. Let me check and see what other which other ones that we have in the chat here. Feel free to mention them. Where are we at for time? Oh, wow, we're making such good time. We're already in the second row. We're moving really, 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 really quickly. Let's see here. A cultist camp built inside a creature's skeleton. Now, that might be a little bit harder, but I think that is doable. There isn't a lot of art. I've noticed that Fantasy Regional is not very compatible with Fantasy World. There's a huge difference with the line work. Like if you look carefully at Fantasy World, the line work is very thick. Now I have noticed that there is some art that's comparable to that. It's in the fantasy, or it's in the watercolor battle map style. So if I open up the watercolor battle map style, I'll look at a stamp here, and you'll kind of notice that there is a comparable line thickness. If I scale it down, you'll notice that there is also this thick line work. And you know what? We can warp and change and edit this art style to work with Fantasy World. The art style is different. Obviously, it's an orthographic top-down art style, but you can use these stamps. I do find that they work okay. So what I'll do is I'll go back into that catalog and just type in skeleton or bones, and there should be some skeletons, some bones here. I see some skeletons right here. Let's choose that one. I see some bones right here. Let me go back up and see what Timed Warriors mentioned. A cultist camp built in a creature skeleton. Ooh, that might be hard, but it might be doable, okay? So we'll give it a shot. It just depends. Let's just take a look at our skeleton options here. Let's see here. Let me see how big this is. We might not be able to make it inside of one. Let me see if there is... I think there was also some bones or something that I saw. Let me take a look. Let's zoom in here. I'm pretty sure I saw... Oh, you know what? It might be in Watercolor Cities. My mistake. Watercolor Cities also works because it uses a similar style. I don't know if you can use the buildings, but I think there is a bone of some kind. This one right here. Here we go. Perfect. This might do right here. There we go. I'm not going to use fantasy battle maps because I find that style doesn't actually work quite as well because of the line work. The line work is more chalky, while this line work is more of a thicker black line. So you'll notice that this actually works better than fantasy battle maps. I'll bring one up, though, just to show you what I'm talking about. I don't want to just say it, so I'll bring up bones, and you'll see the difference. You see the difference here. The line work is a little bit more, there's a little less contrast. It's not as thick and black. And so this just does not match at all with the Fantasy World style. But again, Watercolor Cities, Watercolor battle maps, the line work is similar. So what I'll do is I'll probably just use this piece right here. I'll turn off all the shadows. I don't need them on. So we'll put, this is going to be like the main kind of bone that's going to go right here. And then I'll add like a skull, like here on the edge here, to make it look like this is like the head of the beast. I've kind of noticed that there is a different kind of hue to it, so I'll change the hue to where it matches it. It looks like it's more of a greenish color, so I'll put the skull there. And then I could also use these right here to kind of represent like remnants of it, so I can kind of place these here like this, and maybe place another one right here like this. There we go. And then what I'll do from here is I can start placing some kind of buildings inside of it. So we'll go back to Fantasy World. I think there is some merchant type camps that might work here, and the tents. Also, let me type in tent. Some of these might work, these tents right here. I'm not sure if isometric will work better or not. We can kind of place them in here. Like one can be placed like right here up against here. Let's place another one just like right in here by the head. Let's maybe place another one in the back right here, another one here in the back, and then another circular one in the center. Let's bring it up a layer so that it's in front of it, and we'll bring the scale down just a little bit so that there's varying sizes. Let's put another one, smaller one right there. And then you have these kind of pieces here. Now, I think also there is some of these individual spikes, and these will work great. So we'll maybe put some maybe overlapping the skull. We'll put maybe another one rotated over here, kind of facing this way. There we go. And so you kind of have this kind of, it's not kind of exactly what I would have in mind, but I think overall it works if that's what you're trying to create. I think that works. Just remember that, you know, when you do mix and match styles, you do have to make sure that they don't, because I mean, look at this right here. Look at this skull. Even this skull right here, the line work seems a little thick. I think it's okay because I do want the skull to kind of pop out a little bit more, so I think it works out. One thing you can do to diminish it is you can bring the contrast down just a little bit. And by bringing the contrast down, what it will do is it will take those black lines and it will give them more of a grayish color, so it won't pop out quite as much. And I'm not sure what to call it. A cultist camp, I think is what we'll call it. and then we'll go ahead and group it. Some other things you can add in there, multist. You know, I've never heard of a multist camp. Is that like a mullet cult? That's kind of cool. I like that, right? You could also throw in some like dead trees. Maybe the cult like saps the life out of life, you know, and so maybe they, you know, they killed that beast and then used its remains as a home, and then they sucked the life force out of it. So all kinds of stuff. Okay, so let's go ahead and save it, and we'll work on to the next one. I make maps for Inkarnate. That's what I do. So I guess I do make maps for a job. So I guess that's true of my profile. All the maps that I make are pretty much free to download for you guys' personal use. Just make sure that you have the Pro. Obviously, you're going to need Pro for it to work. But my job at Inkarnate includes showing you guys how to use the tool, making maps, coming up with a lore. I do a lot of different stuff. I do customer service as well as, you know, a couple other things. So I do quite a bit for the team. But a lot of our team members do the same thing. They have multiple hats. They do a lot. So we have quite a diverse and unique team. Let's go ahead and see what else we have. Let's check for time. 41. We could probably make one or two more. Let me check up the chat list and see. We've got Thieves for it. We've got, let's see here. Oh, a walking tower. You know, I like the idea of a walking tower. That's interesting. And I have made a tower mimic before, so I think I'll use that same kind of style. So what we'll do is we'll pick a tower that we want, and I'm going to pick a tower that's kind of interesting and fairly large, because if it's too small, then how will I make the body, right? So I'll take a look at what our options are. We want to pick a theme. I'm going to go with isometric. There's this tower right here. Oh, a wizard tower. Okay, let's take a look at our tower options here. Let's pick one from the newer art. I don't want to pick a tower from the older Fantasy World stuff, so let's just kind of look it over. This one's interesting. I kind of like that one. Yeah, if you type in Mimic Tower in the Explore page or on my profile, I think you should find it. That was really fun to make, by the way. I really like that stuff. Let's pick a tower that I think would work well. You know, I kind of like this one right here. This is kind of cool. It's asymmetrical. It has a little, I'm not sure what this is called, this little tower at the top. I forgot the name of those. An Oriole, I think. I always forget the name of it. Let's scale up. So we'll make it nice and big. And then what I'll do from here is I'll maybe have like a series of arms coming out of windows that are like, that make it walk. And so like maybe like a spider, multiple arms. I don't want to go with 2 legs. I want to go with multiple legs. And it kind of makes sense, right? It's a tower. It's heavy. And to make sure that it can sustain the weight, it's going to need multiple crawling like legs for it to work. So what I'll do is I'll use the shape tool to create a series of windows on it. So shape tool, we'll go with the pen. We'll choose a black color. Let's actually go with, let's see here. Let's have fill black like this, and then I'll zoom in, and then I'll use the pen to create a series of windows. So there's one there, copy, paste. There we go, one window. Oopsie, I don't want it to be blurred, so let's turn off the blur. There we go. And then I'll copy, paste, put another one here. I can also flip this, so if I go to flip like this, now I have another window over here. Copy, paste, another window over here. Let's maybe put one right there. I'll have to rotate it a little bit. And then another one over here. We'll flip it. Let's make it a little bit smaller. I don't want all the windows to be the exact same size. So we'll maybe put a small one here, small one there, maybe a decent size big one here. I do want to put a decent amount at the base of it, because that's where the legs are going to come out. So there's going to be legs coming out of the arms, or legs coming out of the windows. Sorry, did I say arms? There we go. Copy, paste. That looks good. Okay, I think that looks good. I'll go ahead and just group this, and we'll call it tower. And then what I'll do from here, oopsie, did it not select them all? There we go. Create group tower. My mistake. create. And then what I'll do is I'll rotate it a little bit because I want it to show that it's in motion. If it's straight up at the perfect angle like this, it's going to look like it's not really moving. But if I rotate it just a hair like this, it's going to have this notion that this thing is not stationary, right? It's going to tilt back and forth to the side and to the side when it's moving, right? So that's going to be helpful. Next, we'll use the same thing. We're going to use maybe some black lines to create the arms that kind of comes out of it. Yeah, I like that idea. Let's bring this, let me just check to see the size. About that size, let's make it a little bit bigger. That big looks fine. And to show the spider legs, what I'll do is I'll have it go up like this, one going down like this, and another one going down like that. So that's about the spider leg that I kind of want there. I'll go with this, make it a little bit bigger like that. And then I can just make a series of these legs kind of coming out like this. So there's two there. Put one there. Let's put one maybe like right here. Kind of a Howl's Moving Castle kind of thing. And then I'll take the layer, bring it down, and put it behind it. And then let's put some legs behind. There we go. Okay. So now we kind of have this like spider, like walking tower. Utterly mortifying, if you ask me. I might want to make the legs be a little bit bigger, maybe, on this side. So I'll go ahead and just make these just a little bit kind of bigger. There we go. I'm noticing all the lines too, and they might have a shadow on them. Let me make sure that those are turned off. Oopsie, not select that one. There we go. Is there a shadow on? Yes, there is. There we go. Turn that shadow off. And then I'll use this thicker one to kind of represent, oopsie, this needs to go up front. There we go. And I'll take this thicker one. That way my legs are a little thicker at the top. There we go. And I can even make them a little thicker at the bottom, I think, just to make it a little bit more unique. And then what I could do is maybe make some little tiny legs or little tiny feet at the bottom like this. And then I can go ahead and take that whole thing. Oopsie, unselect this. There we go. And we'll create group. Create. I'm going to copy and paste. And then I'll just kind of place these little legs, these little foot and legs on the side here. So that way they have some support when they're walking. Like this. There we go. Copy, paste. And now you have kind of like this walking kind of creature. There we go. I think that looks good. Yep, that looks good. All right, let's bring the scale down a little bit. And now it is a wizard tower, so I think we should add a little more to it. For instance, like maybe we should have some lights coming out of it, or maybe there's a summoning circle at the top of it, or a summoning circle at the bottom of it. I don't know. It could be a number of things. Let's bring the scale down like this. And let's maybe look up summon. There shouldn't be any in Fantasy World, but there should be in other styles. So we can use maybe one of these. It is a mage tower of some type. So what we could do is we could choose like one of these, put it at the top. Like this. And the way that I go about making summoning circles is really simple. Right now you have a flat orthographic summoning circle. But if I take that hotbar and then scale it way down, now I have this floating summoning circle like this. And I'll rotate it to fit right above the tower like this. Like that. I can change the hue to whatever color I want it to be. Purple, greens. I kind of like that color right there. That looks good. We could also take a light source, put that in the center of it. Like take a light source, put it right in the center, like that. We might want to change the color a little bit to like more of a more bluish color, copy, paste. Yeah, all kinds of things that we can kind of do here. Let's add more light sources there. There we go. That looks good. That looks good. And then what we can do is maybe having some, maybe there's like some chanting wizards inside of the building, and for the building to move and to come to life, it requires the cooperation of all the mages that live within the tower. So we can maybe have some magic coming out of the other windows and then have that magic connecting to the summoning circle. So we could go ahead and take the light like this. Let's go ahead and use this same one right here. We'll change the color to be more of that kind of more greenish, like blue light color. Let me go ahead and just add a little bit here just to see what it looks like when I add it on here. Let me take a look at that. Let's maybe bring... let's maybe bring the brightness up a little bit more on this one. Let's also change maybe the blend mode to lighten, maybe. Let me see, overlay. Let's try overlay. And then from here, I'm going to go ahead and have these kind of light. I'm going to have it kind of connect. So it's going to go like this. Out of this window and then up into here like that. Out of this window, connecting up into here. Out of this window, coming into here. And then each one of these lights, each one of these is some kind of mage trying to use the magic. There we go, like that. And then I think also I'm going to change the blend mode of this summoning circle. It has a thick outline, but if I change it to like lighten or overlay, I can kind of remove some of that. I'll bring the brightness up. There we go. There we go. And I think, there you go. Pretty simple stuff. The summoning circle at the top, magic coming in, coming out. And then what we can also do is you can also do a couple other things. You can put a shadow underneath the tower to show that there's some height to it. So if I take this fill, go blur, bring the opacity way down, I'm going to go ahead and use a circle like this. Let's make it about that size. Looks good. Let's bring the blur up a little bit more. There we go. And I'll put this down all the way to layer -5. And if I put a little shadow underneath, now it kind of looks like the tower is more hovering above the ground, right? You couldn't tell really at first. It kind of looks like maybe it's just sitting on the ground and the legs are coming out of it. That doesn't work, right? So to adding a little shadow underneath gives this kind of illusion that it's kind of hovering above. And even that shadow might be a little too big. We can just put it right underneath like that. There you go. And then we have this walking wizard tower. We'll create group. We'll call it walking tower because if I put wizard in the equation, it might not fit right there. So walking tower. I don't know if we have enough time for another one or not. Let me see. 52. Not really. But there you are. I'll go ahead and save this. All right. So, I'm just going to make one more. We have enough time. So if people have some ideas, throw that in there. Throw that in the chat. Please come up with ideas. All right. Let's just go over real quick while you guys come up with ideas what we've made. This Dwarven Airship, a Fey Temple, an underwater city, a floating city, a Thieves Fort, a cultist camp, and a walking tower. Oh yeah, a ghost market or bazaar. That's cool. Let's call it a ghost market. And we'll make this real quick. Real quick. We'll make one more. Let's go back into Fantasy World. You know what? Let's have it to where I have a cool idea. Let's make the market a ruined structure. So when you first look at this market, it's in ruins, right? But the cool thing about it though is that at night, it's no longer a ruin. It turns into its regular unruined self. So it's called the ghost market for a reason. During the day, it's just this ruined structure with nothing going on inside of it. But during the nighttime, or maybe during a certain moon or a certain spell, unlocks it, and then this market kind of comes to life. So let's go ahead and pick a stamp that we're going to feel will work best for it. I think something like this might work well. This is where our market takes place. Right here, that looks good. I should be able to share these once I finish them. So we're going to turn this into a series. I think this series will be pretty popular stream. So we'll probably end up making a series where once a month we make fantasy stuff, and we'll just keep filling in and making more and more and more. So if I were you guys, I would definitely come up with a long list of prompts, and we will make a ton of them. And then when we finish each one of these maps that we finish, all 20 of them, I'll make them available for you to clone and edit. The only thing that I recommend is that if I have any 2.0 stamps on here or features, you won't be able to clone and edit them. So for right now, I'm trying not to use any 2.0 stamps, because if you do want to use these, you can. All right. So here's the ghost market. And what I might want to consider doing actually is let's do two. We'll have this, a broken part, and then I'll create another part that's not broken. And then what I'll do is I want to have this illusion that maybe it's twilight and it's during that certain moon. And so half of the camp, half of the bazaar is coming to life and the other half isn't. So the twilight, the light of the twilight is, or the darkness of twilight is touching a part of the structure. And so it's showing that it's alive, coming to life, and the other part is still in the light of day. And so then that way it'll look like I'm showing that, because what I want to do is I want to show that indeed there's some magic going on. So what I'll do is I'll go in here. I want to choose, let's maybe choose like purple, because it's already got like this kind of grayish kind of color to it. So I'll maybe choose purple one. Let's add a purple building here. I think right there should look good. There we go. So this part of it is in the light and the other part isn't. So we'll put that there. And then what I might want to do is how is it that I portray that, how is it that I show that there's some magic taking place, that the part that's in darkness is coming to life and isn't? So what I maybe could do is use a line to create maybe like a fissure or a wave of some kind. And so I should maybe choose a color. I've got some purples going on here, so maybe a green color might work well. Let's go in here, go with green. And then what I'll do is I'll just kind of draw like this fissure that kind of goes across. Let's turn off the blur. Let's bring the size up. There we go. I just want to see the line. Yeah, could go with red. Yep, that works too. I love it. I mean, it doesn't really matter what color I go with. I don't really mind. We'll start with green, and then we can change it, right? That's the beauty of it. And we'll create this little fissure that kind of goes across like this. That's where it's going to start. I'll change the blur so it's not, it kind of blends better like this. There's that fissure. And then I'll take that same one and I'll bring the opacity down, and I'll have a series of lines that are going up like this. Let's change the stroke size. There we go. And I'm just going to copy and paste these. Let's put them up a layer so that way, what is this at? 4. Let's bring it down a layer. There we go. And I'll copy and paste these like this. And then I'll copy and paste, then take a smaller one like this, copy, paste, take an even smaller one. Let's bring the opacity up a little bit so I can see it better. Bring the blur down a little bit more. There, now I can kind of see it. Maybe a little bit more blur. There we go. Place that there, copy, paste. Another one there. There we go. Okay, so now we have this idea of part of it's coming to life. So I might want to also consider maybe making some cracks on the ground to kind of show that this has been affected. So we'll have some cracks kind of going like this, kind of connecting. Here we go, because I do want to show that this part, there's magic going on here. So now I have that going across there. Let me go ahead and just select it all, kind of move it more into the center. Let me select all of my lines to kind of make sure that I don't have any shadows on. I don't think I have any shadows. Let me check. I do have some shadows. Let's turn those off. There we go. There we go. And then what I might also want to do is to show that there's magic, let's also add in some light sources. So I can go in over to here. I'll open this one up and just steal this light source, or steal this color right here. And then I'll go down over to here. And then inside of these buildings, oopsie, I accidentally selected the whole thing. That's fine. No big deal. We'll go turn the blur off here. We'll go ahead and just create our own right here like that. There we go. Let's bring the scale up a little bit. Blur it just a little bit. There we go. And then I'll go ahead and place these. Let's go with normal. There we go. So I can kind of see it better. And then I can kind of place these light sources in the windows. And that will kind of also help to complement more of the theme that I'm kind of going with here. Copy, paste. There we go. Copy, paste is your friend. There we go. Yeah, I mean, just, it's amazing. Just adding a little bit of light sources. Like, don't ever settle for what we just give you. You know what I mean? Definitely play with it, have fun with it. You can do a lot of cool things. So let's create group, call it Ghost Market. And I think next month, what we'll do is we'll just make this a regular, series, so that way you guys can, we can just come up with more and more prompts, because really there's an infinite number of stuff that we could probably come up with putting our heads together, right? All right, sweet. Hey, everybody. This has been awesome. This is probably one of my favorite masterclasses that we've done yet, next to the vehicles. I love that. And we probably will do fantasy vehicles next month as well, because some people were telling me we only had enough time to make 2 vehicles, really, in the last masterclass. So I definitely want to do more of that. So, I'm sorry that you're late to the party there, first-time chatter. Definitely go back and you'll be able to catch the stream, okay? We also upload these to YouTube, the entire VOD, and then I also cut them up into clips. So each one of these things that we made here, I'll probably have individual clips for each one. And so next month, we'll continue with more prompts. All right, you've all been great. Care about you guys so much. Thank you for the awesome ideas. Keep bringing these awesome ideas to the table. We will make every single one of them. Please stay safe and healthy. Merry map making, and I will see you all on Friday, okay? Take care, all right? Bye, everybody.